Hello and welcome to another behind the scenes here at Rare. I'm joined by Andrew Preston, Senior Designer, and software engineer Sarah Noonan, who are going to take us through AI in Sea of Thieves, and specifically skeletons. So, skeletons went in February 2017 in our Taming New Seas content update. Why did we choose to put them in at that point?
Well, I guess the skellies were at a point where, on a design level, they offered like a gameplay threat to the player, and that was something we hadn't got in Sea of Thieves at that point. And then the second part was kind of a more programmatic thing. We wanted to test them at scale and make sure that they were kind of performant. So it was kind of getting our early stuff in, seeing how it played out on a gameplay level and seeing that we could make it work, basically.
Sarah, you joined us when?
In September.
In September. So, but you've been kind of instrumental in making sure that we would get these updates like through into the AI since then.
Yeah, so one thing we added was the different perception types.
Yeah.
So rather than just being able to see you, they can hear you and they can realize when they've been damaged. If you're sniping a skeleton from far away and you damage him or he hears you, he's not psychic, he doesn't know exactly where you are, so he turns around and he tries to look for you rather than knowing where you are straight away.
The hearing stuff's really cool as well because you kind of have this like range of hearing. So like the skellies can hear you from a cannonball shot really, really far away and turn around and try and investigate that area, and then they can hear like the kind of projectile weapons slightly further away, and then the kind of musical instruments, if you're playing them, they can hear them even closer, and then eventually you kind of get these scenarios like you were saying earlier with the shovel. Like if you're kind of digging around near a skeleton and you're in sand, they're probably not going to hear you, but if you kind of make a misdig and hit some rock, then it'll make a loud sound and they'll turn around and perceive you.
And I just recently saw skeletons can now heal themselves, right?
Yeah, so they're not just dumb and have a gun and just fire at you straight away. They can react to the player, so if they're damaged so much and they can run away from you, or they can bring out their banana and eat it just like the player can.
And that's something we're continuing to improve right, like through the animation system and stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've looked a lot at the kind of hit reactions and stuff. So before, kind of when you hit a skeleton, they just did a very small flinch, whereas recently we've been putting in a system where you have kind of a directional damage system. So if I'm kind of hitting a skeleton with the cutlass and kind of hit them left, right, left, then they kind of physically like turn left, right, left as they're kind of getting hit, which looks like really, really cool and really empowering for the player as well.
It's like we wanted to obviously try and take as much of the mechanics that a player had and give them to a skeleton, right? And that kind of brought us on to like wielding like swords.
Yeah, definitely, because isn't that the whole story of Sea of Thieves? These used to be pirates, and so it doesn't make sense for them to just have a gun and not to be able to do anything that the player can. When the players got their flintlocks and their cutlasses and stuff, the skeletons were just left with their blunderbusses, so now they can also wield the flintlock, and then recently added the cutlass and the unarmed as well. Like you were saying, we gave them the blunderbuss first, which is the hardest weapon, and players would be starting off their level 1 journey and they themselves don't even have the blunderbuss, and they're against all these skeletons with the blunderbusses, which just is so unfair. So now they've given them the unarmed and the cutlass, so they're kind of easing you into the threat of the skeletons.
And I guess part of that is like you were talking there about easing you in, and it's about the progression system as well. It's about how we work the skeletons into that. How does that work for us at the moment?
Yeah, so as it stands, we kind of have different skeletons of different kind of abilities. So some can be more proficient at aiming, or they can move faster, and all those kind of attributes that make them up kind of physically. And then obviously they have their loadout as well in terms of what guns they're wielding. So unarmed are kind of in the early game, and then as you kind of progress through the game, they start wielding more and bigger weapons.
So how does the AI work into progression in Bounty Quest, which is something we've just recently announced? So
with the Bounty Quest, we kind of built these new spawner types that we can use so that we can create a very kind of authored structure to how players interact with a bounty. So we can kind of set up how many skeletons will be in a specific wave, and then how many of those skeletons you have to kill before the next wave emerge from under the ground, and then what that second set will then be wielding, and what rank they'll be and how much harder they are.
Like manage the difficulty curve
Exactly,
as
yeah.
you go through the quest.
Yeah.
Having a spawner where design can go in and they can specifically say what they want to spawn or what has the most chance of spawning, And you can also change that not just in the bounty quests, but also throughout the quests, like depending on your level. They can really contribute to a compelling like gameplay, challenge and experience for the player and provide lots of variety. But going forward, we definitely want to look at how they contribute to the whole Sea of Thieves tone. They're not just enemies that spawn because a player is around. They have a history and they live there.
Yeah, after launch, we're still going to have a team dedicated to AI, so they'll be looking at improving the kind of baseline gameplay mechanics and then also adding new gameplay mechanics that are going to challenge players in different ways. And then of course we'll be listening to player feedback as well and making sure that anything that they kind of want, we're kind of factoring that into what we're making next, just like any other feature in the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That was the worst. Give me the last line, just like any other feature.
Just like all the other features in the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, folks.
That's all right.
Pre-order now to receive the Black Dog Pack and access to the Sea of Thieves closed beta.